Welcome to Axio Social, where we help you grow your church one visitor at a time. My name is John Mann, and today we're going to be talking about the difference between online marketing versus digital ministry. If you're a pastor or a church staff member or volunteer and you hear the words online marketing versus digital ministry, your immediate response might be to say, well, of course we're doing digital ministry because ministry is what we do. But I think it's important that we take a moment, understand the difference between the two, because the two different kind of camps have very different outcomes and very different goals. So it's important that we understand the difference between them. If we examine the motivation behind the ministry work that we're doing, it often looks something like this. We're trying to help ourselves and others become more like Jesus, while also introducing new people to Jesus so that they can go on that relationship journey with him as well. And the differences between online marketing and digital ministry is really kind of where that heart transformation happens. For online marketing, it sounds like a negative term or this gross business thing, but it really isn't. For online marketing, the goal is to introduce someone to the church online in hopes that they come visit you in person. And in person is where that heart transformation happens and where that introduction to Jesus happens. So that is really the way that most of our churches have operated for a long time. Someone comes to church, we introduce them to Jesus, introduce them to his teachings, and kind of guide them on their path to becoming more like Jesus. Now, in contrast to that, digital ministry is a little bit different. It exists almost entirely online. I'm not saying there can't be offline components to a digital ministry, but the difference is where that heart transformation happens, where that introduction to Jesus happens. For digital ministries, that introduction, that heart transformation happens online. The content we're creating exists to introduce someone to Jesus. So that introduction's happening online, that heart transformation's happening online. Our goal is not necessarily to get somebody to come visit our church. As you're looking at these two different options or two different pathways, I think for most churches, online marketing really is the right path. It's the right choice for a few reasons. One, I think it's more attainable. If you don't have a large staff to accomplish digital ministry, it can be very difficult to go down that pathway. But online marketing is a little bit simpler. It's a little bit easier to accomplish with a smaller staff or more limited resources, because the content you're creating exists primarily to invite new people to church. Versus, in contrast to that, digital ministry is much different. The content that you're creating is different. It might not even have your church name on it at all. The whole purpose of that content is to introduce people to Jesus in and of itself, which is much harder to do. So if you're looking at these pathways and you say, hey, digital ministry really does kind of sound like what I'm called to do, or sound like what I want our church to be doing, what does that even look like at that point? That looks like you investing heavily in content creation, into cameras, into lights, into microphones, potentially dedicated space in your building or facilities to facilitate the creation of this content. That looks like you hiring people with the right skills to be able to do this, hiring people with experience with YouTube and TikTok and all of these different platforms that we're now participating in. That looks like you dedicating time from your pastor's week to helping create that content. Can you have your youth pastor spend 30% of their time helping the content creation team come up with ideas and come up with content that's going to reach youth? Again, these two different options, there's not a right or a wrong answer between the two of them, but I do think it's important that you decide up front which pathway you're going to go down, because that will really inform the decisions you're making around your staffing, around your building, around how you're allocating resources, and then most importantly, the type of content you're creating. Because if, as churches, we're confused about the content that we're creating and the purpose behind it, then we're not really going to be that successful in accomplishing the goals behind that content. So if this is interesting to you, if you would like to learn more about these types of topics, like to learn more about how to do online marketing with churches, for churches, or how to do digital ministry, make sure and hit that subscribe button. We've got a lot more content around this kind of stuff coming out very shortly. If you would like my personal help with accomplishing this at your church, you can find my contact information down in the description below. Thanks for watching the video. We'll see you soon.